Hey everybody, I'm Nathaniel from Exquisite Gardens, and in today's video we're going to be doing two things. The first is I'm going to give you an update on where we're at in our big garden renovation project, and the second is we're going to go inside and we're going to plant containers in order to decorate this large privacy wall behind me. But before we go inside and do that, let me show you around the garden. This privacy wall really provides a little bit of seclusion to our back patio, giving us a secluded place to enjoy a meal or to spend time with family and friends for a get-together. From the patio, if you remember it from our garden design video, you can walk down on what will soon be a finished flagstone pathway to our fire pit pergola area, which will be paved with flagstone pavers. You still have to use your imagination a bit, but if you can, imagine flower beds all along the walkway and surrounding the fire pit area. As you make your way down the path toward the fire pit area, you can either continue in under the pergola, or before getting there, you can make a left and go to where the greenhouse and the raised vegetable garden is going to be in the next few weeks. We still have a lot of work to do, a lot of digging, a lot of block laying, and even the construction of the greenhouse, but it's coming along quite nicely. But look at that wall, totally bare. What it needs is some plant life growing along its side in order to give it more character. Let's go inside, plant up some of the hanging flower pouches and some of the hanging flower baskets. We'll come back out here in a little bit and we'll decorate the wall and see how it looks. There are two types of containers that I'm starting today. The first is a hanging basket, and the second, one of these hanging flower pouches. Both these items we're going to be putting on that privacy wall that's outside, and so we're going to pot them up today, take them outside, see how they look on the wall, and see if we can't really turn that wall into a living wall. One thing you guys need to understand about me is that I design, make, and sell gardening products for a living. And so on this channel, sometimes you're going to be seeing things that I make or I've designed, and it needs a little bit of explanation so you guys understand what I'm doing, because it might not be something that you've seen before. And so that's what's going on today. These liners here, they're called a MagniMoist liner, and they can go in hanging baskets, they can go in your potted plants, raised beds. You have window boxes, they can even go in the yard underneath your soil if you're doing sod. And what they do is when you water, instead of that water just falling out of the bottom of your container immediately, this is like wrapping it in a thick wool blanket. It deflects the water back up into the soil. And then when the plant has had enough to drink, it releases the excess. And so it gives the soil time to absorb the water, and also for the water to move out to the sides of the container and soak in there as well. Like I said, the idea here is not that this is supposed to be a commercial. This is supposed to be me sharing my gardening experience with you, and that's why I'm showing it here today. So to start, we're going to start with the hanging basket. I'm actually going to do two hanging baskets today. One on hooks on either side of the wall, kind of hanging down over that sofa. With these liners, they got a slit in them, so you just kind of fold them over on themselves so they form a cone. You can fit them into your planter. It's actually a little bit easier, and they form really well if you soak the liner. But because I'm doing this inside, I decided not to soak it. Then, when you've got the liner in there, we're going to fill it with soil. Pre-soaked soil. I should probably roll up my sleeves. Soil is damp, but it's not soaking wet. I'm going to pat it in there gently as I put it in. I'm going to leave it slightly underfilled at the same time as I add plants here, it's going to fill up even more. So I'm going to put 4 plants inside this basket. So what I want to figure out is where is the front of my planter. I'm going to hang it up, untangle the chain. There we go. So I'm going to have it sit like that with the front facing you guys. And I always like to have a trailing plant come out the front. So I have here what I believe is referred to commonly as a creeping Jenny. I will put its proper name on the screen below. I'll work it out of its cup. Some of these plants I started from seed. The petunias that we'll be starting, like you see here, those I started from seed. These really leggy ones here that have taken on a lot of growth, those I started from seed. But the creeping Jenny and the calibrachoas, which I'm a huge fan of, purchased from a garden center nearby. So I'm just trying to work the roots loose. Sometimes you can get them loose by actually working up the middle and working your way out, because all those roots kind of tend to sit around the outside of the plant sometimes. All right, I'm gonna dig down and try to get this guy in that front leading edge. He's gonna put out these kind of nice green vines, and they're just gonna spill out over the front. I gotta make sure I go deep enough here that the plant sits level with the rest of the soil. There we go. That we will try to train that front and over. Right now the legs of the plant are, the vines are a little too short to be trailing out and over, but they grow pretty quick. Use this plant quite often. All right, and then behind it, again, one of my favorite plants to put in containers, even more than petunias because they self-prune. So typically with petunias, you have to pinch off your spent blooms in order to keep the plant continually producing. But calibrachoas, this is a variety called Cali Loco Graffiti. Pretty cool. They produce smaller flowers than the petunias, at least than these petunias here, but there's a lot of them. They just continually produce non-stop, and you don't need to go out there and pinch them back. Or not pinch them back, but you don't have to go out there and pinch off the spent blooms. They'll self-prune themselves. They'll just keep going and going and going. So I love to have these things in the baskets. They're just great performers. All right, so we got these 2 in there. I'm gonna get a little greedy. I'm gonna put petunias in on the sides here. I can just see that the leaves were starting to yellow, which means that probably we're starting to lose out on some of the nutrients in the container, and they either needed to be fertilized or transplanted. So this is a good time for me to be transplanting them. I think now that they're in this bit larger container, we'll fertilize here about twice a month. These things should take off like a rocket. And hopefully, if we kind of aim it outwards, they'll spill out. And this will just be one of those baskets that looks like it's overflowing with blooms. All right, and there you have it. 2 petunias, a creeping Jenny, and a calibrachoa ready to get hung outside. There you go. Set this down over here and we'll get started on the next planter. So now we're gonna move on. We're gonna do this hanging flower pouch. And what this reminds me of is I've been seeing it at the garden centers lately. It's a black plastic bag with holes all throughout the length of it. And they'll put petunias in there, or they'll put strawberries in there. And the idea is you hang it and you just get this cascading wave of flowers or strawberries, whatever you want to do. But it's always felt a little strange to me to put what is essentially a black plastic bag on the front of my house. And so this is kind of, in my mind, a more natural, and it just feels more appropriate for that kind of space. And so what we'll do is we will fill this with soil and we'll be able to plant in the top of it. There are also 2 holes, and I believe what I'll do is I'll cut across here. I'll just make it one larger hole, and I will put, I believe, a petunia up top and probably more petunias out the front. But this would be another good place to have like a creeping Jenny or something trailing that comes out the front while you have something flowering coming out the top. We'll try it. We'll see how it looks, see if it looks good. So the first thing we put in the hanging flower pouch is one of these petunias that honestly has just gone quite leggy on me. You can just see how long they are. It's only got 1, 2, 3, 4 maybe branches that would flower, and they are quite flimsy. But my thought is, okay, they're quite long, so maybe if I stick them out the front, they'll trail down a little bit and flower in a downward pattern. And so we'll see if that works. Either way, I could also trim them back a couple inches up top. That would force new growth down here at the bottom, and then they would become much more bushy, which I will likely do at some point. So I'm just going to take this guy, put him right here through the center hole. Just like that. He's hanging out. Grab my bucket of soil. I just want to fill it up about halfway, so that way I leave room for the plant that's going to go on top, which is really, it's a much larger pot, and so it's like a 3 or 4 inch pot. There, so I gotta make sure I leave room for it so it can sit down far enough in the pouch and not sit out the top. Just gonna pack that in there. Now again, we'll grab one of these petunias here that are already flowering. In a small pot like this, I actually don't want them flowering yet, but I let them go since I knew I was about to plant them out. I figured it'd look a little bit better on camera too. It takes a lot of energy for the plant to create those flowers, and since they're already in such a small container, you can see that the roots have just grown everywhere. These 4, there's 5 blooms in there right now. That would essentially just tap it out of energy. And if I kept it inside that planter, or inside that little pot. So what we're gonna do is get it inside this guy with a bit more soil, and then we're gonna make sure we fertilize regularly. Not much more room in there for soil, but I want to pack it in. And then for added effect, what I like to do is fold down the front lip, give it a little bit of character. And there you go. You have yourself a hanging flower pouch. We're going to pot up a bunch more of these. Just decorate that entire wall with them. what do you think? Obviously the plants will grow out more and more over the spring and throughout the summer. But I think it looks pretty good. But all in all, it showcases what is the purpose of the hardscape. The hardscape serves to be the backbone for the plants to grow upon. The effect that this wall has had on this space is really, truly amazing. Not only does the hardscape function as the skeleton for the plants in your garden, but it also completely transformed the feel of the space. For example, we really had no need for this privacy wall here on our back patio. This patio is already secluded from our neighbors on 2 sides, if not 3 sides. And so previously, sitting here on this couch would have been relaxing and a great place for a little R&R. But you add this wall and you add the plants, and suddenly your rest and relaxation goes from a 5 out of 10 to an 8 out of 10 or a 9 out of 10. By far the simplest thing we have built thus far in the garden is this privacy wall, but it's had the biggest impact so far. It really makes me believe that when the pathways are done, the flower beds are in, the pergola is going, the fire pit with chairs around it, and the greenhouse, all those elements come together, this backyard is not going to feel the same at all. And frankly, I'm looking forward to it. And if you're curious to see how we're going to marry the hardscape that we're building with the plants that we're growing, feel free to like, comment, subscribe, so that way you don't miss any updates from Exquisite Gardens. And with that, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.